Well, hello and welcome. I'm Sue Britz,
And I'm Tina Lookbakk. Welcome to Retired.
the podcast where we talk about what life is like when we put on new tread, new wheels that move us to our next adventure. Tina, you're back from Norway. We started to talk a little bit, but probably shouldn't have. What are your impressions being back home in California?
Well, I want to just say is you have the introduction that move us on to our next adventure. I definitely had one. Wasn't at all what I expected. And all I can say is it's good to be back. And sometimes you've got to just keep trying things in life to know what you don't want, so you don't always question, is it greener on the other side?
Yeah.
and and that's what this ended up being. It's like it's a lovely country. I love all about it. I love my family, and I love the food, and I love the language, and I'd love to visit a lot. But boy, do I love, even despite the smog and traffic, I love California. I do.
Well, what's the big thing, the big difference that you've found? Why is it that because you were there, you seem to be enjoying it
Love
and
it.
yeah.
There's so much to love about it, but when you stop and think, every day could I endure it? And I think and it shouldn't be enduring. But I think not having the sun, there is a reason why California is so populated. And we have sun up here where I live, especially so much so that they built an observatory because there are such few days where there's actually cloudy skies that it doesn't part. So after being there in the darker season, starting to lighten as I left, and cloudy skies most every day without any precipitation, it was just kind of cloudy, kind of London-esque. Flying into London, by the way, was very Londony as well.
Right.
And then here I come home Thursday night. It's snowing, barely make it home, not having to put on chains. It snows on and off all day on Friday. By Saturday, I'm outside rolling up my pants, sitting in the sun while it's all melting. And I'm like, thank you, God. This is where I belong. And it's the sun.
So it comes down to the sun. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, we take the sun so much for granted, that it's going to be there every day when we wake up. And it is that important. I mean, there's a lot of scientific studies about how people um, live and that react when they're in the sun and when they have when they don't have sun, when they live long periods of time without it. So, I mean, yeah, I can
Yeah,
understand that. Do you think you'll continue to pursue your citizenship, and so you can be a dual citizen, or?
100%. I'm still going to go through with it, and I'm still going to learn the language, and I want to take the government exam so I have that stamp that I'm fluent in the language. So I'm still going to pursue it. And one of the things that could be helpful is because I still don't want to let go of the cubitors, but I think the more we see that's happening within our government, I
Mm.
think the harder it's going to be, and maybe at some point impossible. So if I were to establish residency there, then I could establish my business over there, even though I could live here, and just run things through there and have my business and bank accounts through them. And then I don't have to worry about all the hoops and the terror of just having to follow legalities here for a country that we have decided to hate. That's the
Well,
truth.
and that hatred sadly is going all over the place. I mean, today I woke up. We have now declared ourselves not our allies, who've been longtime allies, where we've turned our backs on them. And I say we because as much as I
We're
know, I
part of
didn't.
this country.
Yeah, yeah, and I did not. I will not support 34, but we are part of this country and we represent that in everything we say, and it makes me so disgusted and sad. I mean, everything is in turmoil. This is the thing is, I keep saying this. If it was just our country and we chose this and we have to bear that burden, I get that. However, we have this responsibility because we have this place in the world and we're not taking that responsibility now. And in fact, we've turned it around and we've not only upset our whole country and everything that's going on here in this nation, but now it's the world as well. We knew that's our impact, and it's disgusting. You know, I think it's always the case, regardless throughout history, and at the same time, right now, it's that much more because we've got this concern of our actual survivalship on our planet with climate change, and um, to have this take our attention is just disgusting.
I think, I've been reading, I do NPR and I do BBC. Outside of that, I don't know anything. Um,
You should check out
but
Democracy Now. That's
what's that?
another Democracy Now is another great source.
Oh, thank you.
Hmm.
And my cousin actually loves something called the Midas Touch. And it's actually an American
Yes,
podcast. It's picking up. Have you heard of Tennessee
yes,
Brando, by the way? He's
yes.
really funny. Okay. So, yeah, all I'm reading is, I believe, isn't it today? If today's Monday, isn't all of Europe, not all of Europe, but part of the NATO nations, the ones that have more military strength, are meeting to figure out what to do and how much they can contribute. Um, yeah. And I just think about the size of their countries versus the size of ours, the population of theirs versus the population of ours. And, even if they all fairly contribute, they still can't contribute enough. And they're all vested in taking care of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants Ukraine to lose its Ukraineness
It's
and
not
its
even
territory.
it's not even want. It's about the literal survival of Ukraine and former Soviet republics, and the impact it'll have on the entire world. I mean, the reality of energy and agriculture, the impact throughout Europe is overwhelming, and the fact that our nation is, making a phone call to Putin, opening that up, reversing all the agreements without people at the table to discuss and make plans and how to it is so disturbing. I Yeah, I don't even so
And
many of
how,
us have been
and
pushed into this
can you
silence. So what do you do, you know?
can you help me understand? Because I really tried this morning at 4:30, slept until 4:30. How was your night?
I think I made it to 5.
Okay. So, why Saudi Arabia? Why would you meet with someone in? Why are we pulling in Saudi Arabia as the meeting territory for Russia and for Trump?
Mhm. Well,
Okay.
you know the answer. It's oil
Oh, I guess that's glaringly in my face.
and
Okay.
dinero. Yeah. No, there's so many questions and so much going on, and that's the strategy, and we're looking to our leaders to give us some direction. You know, you look to Congress and you're hoping. I mean, this is the body that is charged with making laws and checking the other branches of government. They are not doing their job right now, and it is astounding. As the some of these uh, cases go to the Supreme Court, there's just waiting. What's going to happen because what should happen, what is constitutional, may not happen. And that is such a scary thing. And the fact that we're not reacting to it other than just, yeah, we're at a loss, folks, and we got to figure out what we're going to do. And now that we're isolating ourselves from our allies, it's a very, very scary time.
So, who are our allies now?
I don't know that we have any. I mean, because if you're talking to Putin, he's not your ally. I mean, get real.
Oh
He's
no.
he's playing
Oh,
the
not a,
same game or a different version of the same game as 34. So yeah,
maybe El Salvador. Because did you read about that?
mm-mm.
About well, the president has cracked down on
Oh
gangs and so
yeah,
made those mega jails. So he has
yeah.
offered to allow us to send our people,
Mm-hmm.
our worst criminals, and for a small fee, he'll take care of them for us.
Yeah.
And they can even be residents, legal residents, that's fine, or citizens, it doesn't matter. And it's kind of a win-win because he will get more funding and it would be cheaper for us. And I thought, okay, well, there's an ally potential. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Ally doesn't equate to be friend. So, yeah, that's
Well,
true.
I don't even know if we, yeah, yeah. Well,
Ah.
that's depressing. So, so our podcast is about retirement, but also retiring, putting on new tires. And right now we're in the very beginning of literally taking off the wheels of the car, throwing them into the wind or wherever they might land. And we have no idea what the new tires are going to be. Like, we don't even know if they're going to be rubber tires. We don't know if they're going to be wooden tires. We don't know if we're even going to have tires. So just wanted to point out that we are in a state of our country is retiring the tires.
Yeah. I'm kind of tired of that. Tina, our topic today is introverts and extroverts, introversion and extroversion. This topic came up because we are talking on this podcast, and so obviously we have things to say. I think both of us tend to be both introverts and extroverts in different parts of our lives, and I think that's a reality. But a lot of people assume things based on how your interaction is, what our interaction is, or people's. A lot of people assume things by the way that we interact with people. What's your take? What do you think about yourself as an introvert or an extrovert?
I never really thought about it until I became a teacher and looking at my ex at the time and when he became a teacher, and I started to question if I ever was an extrovert, that perhaps I was always an introvert, but the job has forced me to be an extrovert, which has gone against my grain. And for me, I always explained it to him and asked him if he felt the same. I said, "Do you ever feel like you're on stage having to tap dance and entertain every day?" And I realized that he never felt that way. I think he really enjoys standing up in front of a classroom and it fills his cup. And it does for me only when the kids are all excited about what I'm doing. Then it fills my cup. Otherwise, it drains me and leaves me for dead. So I really have been struggling back and forth. And in this stage that I'm in this phase of retirement, I have been alone a lot, which has been great, but I've also learned how much I do need people, even if it means sitting in a cafe just to be around people or going to a real movie in the theater just to be with people. So, Sue, listeners, sent this incredible little test today um, that I took about to help you discover what part of you are, or are you in the middle? So before we, divulge the information, what can you, without giving the answer, as I just didn't, can you tell me about you and your discovery or thoughts about your introversion or extroversion?
Well, it's interesting how you brought up the needing to go like to a coffee shop and just be around people. For me, that that I don't feel that unless I'm on a vacation somewhere and I want to people watch. I don't get the same thing out of just sitting in a cafe doing work there. I that's too much. It's too much going on. Um, so that doesn't work for me so much. I was thinking the other day about the time with the pandemic. I think it came up in my mind because of this avian flu stuff that's going on, and they're saying we're on the point of another pandemic. And how do we thrive during that time? It was also interesting because I was doing some spring cleaning, even though it's not springtime yet. Um, and I found a journal that I started during the pandemic, knowing that, I wanted to remember what
Capture
I
it.
felt, yeah, and stuff. And so it was interesting reading that and understanding that it wasn't a deprivation being uh, on shutdown. It was more of what we all felt. I think was some fear. We didn't know what was going on and how things were going to play out, and I assumed kind of the worst. And yet, being by ourselves was not a bad thing. Um, and it made me do some thinking about it, and it's stuff that I think I've always known. As a kid, I was totally into reflection, writing journals, reading, all the classic things, all the thoughtfulness, and you're keeping things private, and all the things that introverts are supposed to do. And at the same time, I was the one who got kids together, and we made those shows, and we'd uh, we would put on these theater productions and for the families on the street, and organizing everyone. And so that I've known that since I was a kid. And then, going into the teaching, it's the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of thought and planning and time for quiet introspection about what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it, and then applying it in real time with kids. And you've got to be totally an expert. I mean, extrovert. You're putting a show on. I mean, and
That's what I meant
especially
by the tap dancing. Right.
in today's education is much more about showmaking than it was when I was growing up.
So
Um,
true.
so that takes extroversion. I think the way I started understanding is I can compartmentalize my extroversion. It's like a segment of who I am, that it's almost like an installment, a book that I can pull out, and that's my extroversion. But the real me is introversion. And I think a lot of people would never have thought that, wouldn't guess that, but I think I've known that since forever. Um, I like both parts, and I want both parts, and I need both parts. Uh, Hence, we are on a podcast. We're sharing all of this stuff, our thoughts and ideas, and it's interesting because it's not like you're in a studio with a live audience or anything where people are looking at you. You're talking, you and I are talking, we're having a conversation. And that is much more introversion than, the extrovert stuff. So that was my general take.
Okay. So do you want to divulge your score? It's a 3-minute test you sent. It's from Psychology Today. I was so excited after I took it that I sent it to everybody I know. And I, when I answered the questions, I realized the main theme was it depends on the group. It depends on the group. It
Context.
depends on the group.
Yeah.
And so, want to take a guess at my score? It's between 1 and 100, 1 being, I guess, very introverted and 100 being very extroverted. And I started to laugh. So if you had to guess, where would you find me?
Well, first of all, I mean, this test is interesting because, like you say, it's a 3-minute test. It's not a very thorough thing. So it's just a
No,
screening, I would say.
like a
And
teaser.
yeah, I would say you tend toward the introversion side. So maybe you're a 40, let's not say 45 because that's a crappy number. Let's say a 41. I do like prime numbers, so that's okay. 41.
Okay.
And
And
I, go ahead.
okay, go ahead.
Oh, this is getting
So
silly.
I'm going to put you at 50.
50-50. And so it's interesting because when I do all these psychology tests, I always come out in the middle. I mean, kind of balanced. I'm not like all, and it all comes back to, um, like you say, context. Different places, different times, different audiences, different people you're with. You're going to be a different person,
So
and
true.
so kind of balanced. And I was a little bit surprised because on this test, I thought, I mean, based on what you heard me say, I would tend to be more of an introvert. It had me more as an extrovert, which is not surprising on a short little um, test like this. But It was somewhat interesting. So I was in the mixed signs, which is the 50 to 70% range, which is interesting because I guess they don't include 10 through 20 in their scale, but um, so 50 to 70, it's kind of high.
But what was your number?
68. So I was almost on the, yeah, I
68.
was almost on the somewhat extroverted, clearly extroverted side, which surprised me.
Me too. Like, I thought you would be spot on in the middle, and I see a bias. I see a tendency.
Well, and I don't feel connected to that result.
Okay.
The result then says that I'm what you called an ambivert. So it doesn't. Were you in this scale too as an ambivert?
I was a 55.
Ah, so you are an ambivert.
Yes.
All right. So they say here that as an ambivert, you may be more emotionally intelligent, more able to synthesize multiple sides of an issue, and better able to get along with highly introverted or highly extroverted people than those at the poles of this personality continuum. Being ambiverted may mean that your reactions to social encounters are contextual. In some situations, or with
Hmm.
family members or old friends, you may be the life of the party.
Yep.
At other times, you may be happier to sit back and take the conversation in. So,
And that last paragraph explained me completely. And I felt like it was an accurate score just based on that last paragraph.
interesting, interesting. So, Tina, what are the aspects of introversion or extroversion that you really like? What are the characteristics that you enjoy?
I love being able to be alone and enjoy it and get excited about all the delicious things I get to do. So that would be journaling, discovering, knitting, listening to my favorite podcasts. Really great one, Retired Podcast, New Tread. Uh, so I think yeah, I can be out in nature alone and I can do things alone. And I think I like that part. And the extroversion part, I like being in very comfortable big groups when I know people and it's people that are similar or just open and kind. And I love big groups then when I feel comfortable. Um, yeah, yeah, big groups that I feel comfortable with. I was just flashing back to when my daughter, my youngest one, was in choir in high school. And I remember going to a fundraiser. And it just flashed me back to all the miserable weddings where you're stuck at a table talking to people you just know you're never going to see again, nor do you want to. And then going to this particular fundraiser thing, and it was just so facade and uncomfortable. And I'm so glad I asked a friend to go with me. So that's where I feel the introversion and the lack of extroversion. But I think it's a comfort zone. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
I
I
hear
feel
you.
about introversion, extroversion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just the thought occurred to me as, you're sitting at those events where you're doing small talk. I hate the small talk. I think that if I go into my extroverted mind, you could just turn on your journalistic ideas, and because I studied television radio production a long time ago, so I have that bent where I want to report on things, and that's kind of where we are with podcasting. Not that we're reporters, but we have commentary for sure. So going into that mode, and it's almost like you're putting a role on rather than being your full
Yes.
self, and yet the wanting to do that is part of your full self. So it's like I'm saying, it's like this compartment that feels separate in a way, and yet it's not. So most of the time, I don't like that kind of chit chat conversation kind of place, and I'm not very good at it. I would have to turn on that extrovert role to do it, and that doesn't always feel. If I'm not feeling it, that doesn't feel
Authentic.
authentic. So but if you put yourself into a role, then that's authentic then because you're trying to do the role, right?
I think in my previous life, my younger half life, sitting in those environments, it was the discomfort of silence. And I am amazing at coming up with questions and keep that conversation going. So
Mm,
I would have been like the ringleader of the
mm-hmm.
group, getting everybody involved, making sure everybody had eye contact, because some people may not even look at other people and then you feel bad they're left out. So I did so much mental work and trying to keep the conversation going and everyone included. And I always felt like that was my responsibility. Now, on this half of retired, with my new treads, I like going into these things saying nothing and observing who's going to take up the slack. Is anyone going to take up the slack?
That
If
would
they
be
do
me.
take up the slack, are they going to take the whole slack and go on and on and on and on about themselves?
Could be.
So it's been more of like a psychological role where I feel like a therapist going in there and observing like how people are like, oh, is that a real smile? Oh, so I'm kind of enjoying this side of things, but it's more observational.
Oh, and see, I might be that person who picks up the conversation and then does a total out of my norm of who I am or who I feel like on purpose, knowing that people are thinking things and judging and wondering and just do something kind of a little wacko. This is like the improv thing, like see where it goes and see what people's reaction are to your own wackiness or whatever. So there's that part in me that kind of does that too. But that's what I like about like introversion will let you be reflective and thoughtful
Mhm.
and do these social kind of experiments you're talking about. But at the same time, you got to be able to put yourself on the line and go do that and then live with the repercussions of it too if you're going to be an extrovert.
As you said, improv, like I've kind of played with the idea that that's something I would totally enjoy doing is taking an improv class. Um, so I guess that takes some extroversion, doesn't it? To be
Absolutely.
willing to be in a group. So, but because I know we're acting, that's why I think acting, I kind of get acting because when you're not you and you're pretending to be someone else, I can ham it up and I feel so good. But it's showing up as your real self. And that is the hard part for me. But I
But
could play a role. Like tell me to be like a whatever and I'll show up and do it with glee. But if you were to say be your honest self, completely raw, that would be really hard.
mm, interesting. Well, and that's showing your emotions and feelings and so forth. Sometimes we can't hold our emotions and feelings, and so they just come out. Yeah. I don't know. I think for me the idea of an acting thing, I think you bring yourself, and because you are committing to doing it, then that is who you are. The character might be different that you're playing, but your portrayal of that character is you. No?
Oh, that's nice and deep. Introspective, introverted thoughts. Yes.
All right. Well, yeah. So, listeners, we've been thinking about introversion, extroversion because we're reflecting on this podcast idea and, knowing that we're both kind of introverted and yet here we are doing this thing. And I'm just very proud of us doing it. We've reached this week, we passed our 1 year anniversary of when we started this
Woohoo!
project. And I think obviously we're enjoying it because here we are.
Keep showing up.
And we hope you listeners keep showing up too, because it's a podcast. We need
And
listeners.
again, we'd love it if you have topics. If you have topic ideas that you think would be fun to listen to, please send them in at retiredpodcast at newtread@gmail.com.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for listening. Now let's pack up this week's episode in the trunk.
Ride shotgun and be a part of our adventure by clicking on the plus sign to subscribe and follow our show. This will help our ratings and, more importantly, inspire us to keep creating fun and engaging content. We would love to hear from you in the comment sections or email us at retiredpodcastnewtread@gmail.com. Use the fast track lane by sharing episodes with friends, family, and anyone who would like to join us on a road trip through retirement.
Be sure to check the show notes for links and contact information. Retired is chauffeured by Sue Britz and Tina Lokkbakk. It is produced, directed, and edited by me, Sue Britz. Music and graphics are by me too. Buckle up and tune in next week so that you won't miss your chance to join our retired road trip.